You guys ready to roll? All right. We're good to be back with everybody. Spring ball starting today for us. We had a great winter program. We started spring ball a little bit later by design, most importantly to give us 8 full weeks with Coach Griswold in the weight room. And I think we made really good strength gains and speed gains for guys that needed it. And then also it's just been really impressed to see the accountability the players have with each other in those 8 weeks. That's why they kind of help form their team and their culture. Majority of our staff stayed intact. We have a few support staff moving pieces here or there that we'll probably have an announcement the next week or so on just specifics. But and then pro day yesterday was great. I think over 21 guys of ours and all 32 NFL teams were represented, which was awesome. But that means we got a lot of new faces as well for us. A couple things that are probably not secrets or anything, but we're going to a grass playing field, which I think is a big deal for us. Our players are excited about it. Recruits are excited about it. We're excited about it. Grateful to our administration and everyone here for helping us make that happen. I just think, you start thinking about player safety and what players want to play on and just the heat and the way it looks and big-time football. I think that's just a really good step in the right direction for our program. So Ford Stadium will be offline till we play week 1, but that's okay. And then, just an exciting spring ahead. We're condensing it from what we've done in the past a little bit. Starting today, we'll finish April 25th. That's a Friday evening. We will not have a spring game. Have not planned to have that, but we will have probably an open practice that night for our fans and recruits and those kind of things. This Friday night, we have a coaching clinic here, and be great with our staff and Gary Patterson speaking at it for us, and then the following Saturday, we'll have our women's clinic, and so hopefully we'll have a lot of SMU women there. And like I said, no spring game, but we're going to get 14 good practices in. I thought today in helmets was as good as you could ask for. Excited to get some shoulder pads on tomorrow. With that, questions?
Can you kind of talk about the energy today? Was it what you hoped that they would bring on day one?
It was fine. It wasn't – I tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't like overly energetic where it was like hype and fake. So from that standpoint, that's good. I don't know yet. Every team develops their own personality. So we kind of broke the season down. There's 4 main phases in preparation. Phase 1 was the winter program. We just finished that. Phase 2 is spring ball. Phase 3 is the summer program. Phase 4 is fall camp, and then you're playing. So we're still in the process of figuring out who this team is. But the 8 weeks we had with Grizz in the weight room and some of the things we did, it seems like this team just kind of gets up and I'll say this, they seem very consistent, and they just go about their business. And it's not a lot of hype and wasted energy, but they're engaged consistently, and they hold each other accountable at a high level. So who knows? We had some guys that were losing, the Jonathan McGills, the Elijah Roberts, and the Kobe Wilsons that have big personalities, so that kind of created a little more of that energy. And I'm sure we'll get there, but so far it was just kind of a business-like day. I didn't think it was flat by any means, especially for a day in helmets. It'll be good to get pads on tomorrow, just so a little more realistic football. But I thought it was a solid first day.
What do you like about the transfer group that you brought in from a mental makeup perspective from what you've seen so far?
So far, I think, one, I like that they've done a nice job of fitting in with the culture and with the guys that were here. You never know with transfers. Do they come in and feel like they got to prove something or establish something? And they've done a nice job of coming in and just trying to mesh with the team that's here and become just part of the guys and just go to work. And then if you do that, usually over time your ability starts to show and you kind of find your place in the team, and then you can really open up. And I think they've done a nice job of that. One day without pads, it's hard to tell on the football field. I like the size we replaced on the D-line. It would be good to see that linebacker and DB and some of those other positions, how those guys fill in. A couple guys are still banged up, and that's okay. Spring. Same thing on offense. I think the few additions we made on the O-line are really good from a center and a guard standpoint. Running back, how's that going to pan out? We're pretty young at wideout, and that's okay. The only transfer we're bringing in is coming in later this summer. So, I think first impression is, again, they've done a nice job of humbly coming in, just going to work and trying to mesh with the fabric of what we have here. And so far, I think our guys have accepted them really well. So probably have a better answer for that in 13 more practices.
On the spring game, what's kind of the reasoning behind it? I know that every coach kind of has a different thing. That
Yeah. Yeah, from the moment we were told we didn't have to, we weren't having one. I just didn't feel the need to make some big announcement. Spring games are interesting. They're good for your fans. But after that, we don't get a lot out of it. We never have. Even a decade ago when I was at Auburn and we'd have 50,000 people at our spring game, aside from our fans, we didn't get a lot out of it, or the TV exposure. So when the networks say, hey, you can have a spring game or we can just televise a practice, which is what we're going to do, then you still get the exposure. But, if you're a coach, like injuries, you only get so many practices. That days usually becomes more of a production than a practice, so you lose a practice. And then, the portal's not the only reason. I've heard the things that have been said. It's not false. We had people last year at our spring game that started offering our guys stuff. It is what it is. They stayed. But you do have issues internally on your team, and we got competition going on that's not going to be decided by a spring game, and we're not going to have starters by then and all that. So, we'd rather get another practice out of it. If we're going to have an inter-squad scrimmage, it's just different when it's private versus public. And so, I just think that's why you see most teams. Everyone has a little bit different reason, and some that are consistent. At the end of the day, the simplest answer is internally we don't get a whole lot out of it. There's more potential downside than there is upside for it. So. Yes, yeah, because we don't have our stadium with the field. As long as the weather's good, it'll be on Pettis. We'll probably bring some bleachers in and stuff like we've done at times in the past for fans and recruits. And, again, we still want our SMU fans who want to come watch us get a chance to come see us. And it'll be competitive and it'll be spicy, I hope, but it'll be more of a practice than a spring game.
And then with the grass, what's the what's the process like? Are they adding drainage? Is it,
Yeah, maybe we need to get Michael Molina here to answer all these technical questions. It's a extensive process. So look, we were going to have to replace the playing surface either way, either back to a new turf surface or grass because it was worn out. We would have done it a year ago, but the Weber Complex construction didn't give us the runway we needed to get it done. We had planned to go to grass last year, but we just had to pause it. Get in the facility. We made sure the playing surface was safe still for one more year. We were able to get another 7 games out of it or whatever it was we got. But so it's different. If you have an artificial surface, you're going to put a pad down and some other things. We would have replaced all of that. Or when you're going to natural surface, they got to rip all the turf out. They got to see kind of what was there. There's irrigation system. There's a lot of sand that goes underneath it. And eventually by early May we'll have some grass down, and then it gives it the whole summer to take root and take hold. And so it's a long, extensive process, and we've got great people here with Michael Molina and his team that know what they're doing, especially on the specific side. But we're excited about it.
And then any roster changes, guys that might not be here anymore?
I'm trying to think. I know Tyler Anderson put his intent to transfer out there, and we wish him the best and are appreciative of what he did. There's a couple other guys that are going to do the same, but if they've not put it out there, I'm not gonna make those announcements for them. And just like everywhere else, we're grateful for the time they've had here, and we want to help them find a good home. But the majority of the guys that are intact and are at practice, I think they're all in. But we'll find out. We got another portal window, so.
I know we'll talk to him shortly, but what are the winter session kind of like for Kevin, and what are your hopes from this spring?
Yeah, and I don't know what his number is today, so I don't. But I know he was up at least 8 to 10 pounds from where he played it last year, which I think is a big deal, And I don't know, he may be able to put on 15, or maybe it's 12, or or 20, whatever that number is that helps him still be him is where we'll land. But that was a big point of emphasis for him and some other guys. Is hey, how do I bulk up a little, not just weight, like muscle, to protect yourself, to stay healthy through a long season. And to be able to play the way he does. And I think back to when I coached Nick Marshall at Auburn in 2013. He played his first year at 190 and had a great year. I mean, we went and played for a national championship. But he had some bumps and bruises along the way. He banged his shoulder up a little. He had to have a PRP in his knee. And it was never season-ending. But by the end of the year, he was really, really beat up. And that's normal. I mean, it's a long season. Well, he put on 12 pounds in the offseason. He played his senior year at 202. And it made a huge difference, and he never had any injury issues. Now, injuries can still happen, but just that extra 12 pounds of muscle for him, particularly in his upper body, allowed him to, he was a zone read runner, and the way he played, it allowed him to hold up better. So that was what I think Kevin was really focusing on from a weight standpoint. He seemed explosive in all the drills, and then day one, he was throwing the ball pretty good today. So. And he's going to get the summer to continue to make strides there too. But I think that was the best thing that happened for him those 8 weeks. And I think, when you feel stronger and a little thicker in a good way, that gives you confidence.
Have you seen anything different from him as far as how he commands the team, or mentally, or comfortability? Now that
yeah. I mean, on one case, he's still Kevin. He's the same old Kevin, which is great. We want him to stay Kevin, and he will. But yeah, I mean, I think it's different when you go into a spring or a season and you're battling for something or you're unsure. When you come in and I'm the unquestioned starter and leader of the team, it allows you to maybe carry that responsibility differently. So I think in those 8 weeks in the winter program, I talked about the accountability of all the guys. I think it was no question who's a leader for us, and it's him. And even today at practice, you can just tell. There's just we're simple, it's day one, but there's a level of command and comfortability that you love to see out of your quarterback.
What are kind of the challenges that come with this next season for him? The full
Yeah.
calendar year, basically.
Yeah, I think he's got the same challenges we all have. We create our own expectations. We go out and we win 11 games back to back. We go undefeated in the league. We make it to the playoff, all that. Well, that's what everybody expects. That's what we expect. But success is hard. Sustained success is harder. That's why you look at someone like Nick Saban and what he did for so long is just so impressive. It's hard enough to have a year and go win a national title or have a championship run one time. You do it again, and then you do it again. And that consistency of performance is hard. So that's what we're striving for as a program. I think Kevin's in the same boat. There's a parallel there. Everybody wants to make a lot about his last game. I think, to me, that's laughable. Not the last game, but look at what he did over the body of work. After the Clemson game, he was one of the top Heisman odds in Vegas, I think. And then after the Penn State game, nobody even acts like he's a top 10 quarterback in the country. Great. Who cares? I don't care. He doesn't care. He shouldn't care. He should worry about him, and he will. I think what he showed last year is he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and has a chance to be the best. And so what he has to do is not focus on the outside pressure, the outside expectations, or even his own expectations of himself. What can I do to just get better day after day after day to be a better version of myself next year? Where can I stay the same I was? Like the same thing as a program. We got to continue to do the things that help us win. We're doing a lot of things right, but where can we find just a small area here or there to make a little improvement that maybe takes us to the next step? So I think that's where he is. Consistency, obviously turning the ball over is a team thing, but I think we had 24 turnovers, offense and special teams, and 14 of them were in 4 games. 3 losses in the Duke game. So right there is a pretty good place to start.
With that, kind of building off of it, is it fun to kind of have the bullseye on your chest in a sense?
Yeah.
Better than kind of being a sleeper, I guess.
Yeah, we're not going to catch anybody off guard. At the same time, it's a brand new team. Like I said, we lost a lot of good players, so we got our work cut out for us. But yeah, who knows where we'll end up being in the preseason things? Is it top 3, 4, 5 in the conference, or is it back 7 or 8 like last year? Are we ranked in the top 25 or not? I think most people probably think we'll have higher expectations and be thought of better this year. And our team went out and earned it. Our program went out and earned it. So that's great. You want to be in the conversation year in, year out. That's what we're trying to do. And so how do you handle that? It's different than what it was a year ago when, like, hey, are they going to win a game? So, but how do we handle those narratives, those conversations, those expectations? They're all good. There's nothing wrong with them as long as they don't derail us from the process that helps us try to meet or exceed those.
When SMU announced Damon Evans as the new AD, just any thoughts on him?
Yeah.
Ran into him over the years or anything like that?
I did not have a relationship with him prior. Got to spend a little bit of time with him at the end of last week. Great first impression, great conversation. He's got a lot of experience as a player and AD in the SEC, as an AD in the Big Ten, and I think he has the same excitement about SMU we all do, and the vision that where we think not only where we are but where we can go. And there's a lot of work still to be done, but we want high achievers and people that want to shoot for big dreams and big goals like we do. And so I'm excited that he shares those. I'm looking forward to partnering with him and trying to help us continue to make SMU athletics, SMU football, the very best we can be, where we're on that national stage year in, year out. And so, look forward to getting to know him, work with him more. Also incredibly appreciative to Rick Hart and what he did, and not only his time here over 13 years, I believe it was, but just for me personally, my first 3 years, as a head coach for the first time. He really supported me at a high level, and I'm really appreciative to that because it's a lot of on-the-job training, and I'd say still learning every day, but over the 3 years, I know he's been a real steady support for me and partner, and I appreciate him.
Hosting Pro Day yesterday and having 3 guys go to the combine, how much does stuff like that, validate what you guys are working through?
Yeah, it's cool. You can see and feel a lot of the things that say our program is on the upswing, and success isn't just strictly linear. There's going to be a ebb and flow to the climb, but as long as you're consistently progressing, I look at what we did in the recruiting class last year in 25, and then I look at how it felt in January when we went out on the road and the caliber of players I was talking to and being around, and caliber of players that are visiting our campus and that we're in the mix for now. That's different. I think Pro Day was no different of an example, and it helped to be here in the Gary Weber End Zone complex down in our massive, beautiful weight room, a little different than where we've been in the past, and so, but just seeing that and having over 20 guys do really well. We had a lot of 30 for 30 guys on the bench and the vert. We had some guys run some really good times, and just the volume of guys. We're going to have multiple guys drafted, I would think. But I would think in terms of draft picks and maybe even free agent deals and camp invites, I don't know what the numbers are here in the past, but I would think we're going to be up there. And that's cool because it's gotten better each year. And to have all 32 teams here, I think just shows that they respect and believe in the talent at SMU and what's being developed here and the work those guys have put in. So it was really cool to see them have that day. It's a special group of guys. It was kind of weird seeing them again because I'm so used to them being on the team. So they're in the building, I just thought they were here, and then I realized, wait, no, they're only here for that, and then they're leaving again. So, but happy for them. I think most of them had a really good day.
What are some of the biggest questions that you have for kind of the team that you want to see
Yeah.
for spring? How do you approach spring now?
That's a great question. For us, here, like I said, it's the second phase for us, and spring is different than even the summer and fall camp in that we got really a couple of main objectives. One, we want to fundamentally develop at all our positions. Like every position, whether it's O-line or D-line or QB or DB, like there's fundamental things that you can really focus on it's in spring because it's a different pace. We're not worried about getting all the offensive scheme and defensive scheme in. And yes, we're competing and we're going against each other, but we're more worried about the process than the result. We're not about to play anybody. We're not getting ready for a game. So you don't have that pressure coming. And so fundamentally on the individual basis, we want players to get better. We want to create the habits that need to carry us through the fall. How we run to the football on defense has been our strength, how we swarm. So how do we make sure that our guys understand that habit and expectation and we form that habit now? How we tackle, how we pursue the ball, the fundamentals at each position on offense, the tempo we want to play with, the physicality, the details of how we want to do our pat and go drill and how we want to do fundamentals at every position. We can try to establish those habits now, carry them through the summer and fall camp. So when we get to the fall, those are like riding a bike, second nature. And so this is the boring time of year, kind of in some regard from that, but it's incredibly important because that's the foundation that our individuals and our team will be based on. So we focus on that. So, fundamentals, creating the habits we want to create, and the identity of our offense and defense. Like I said, on defense, we want to be swarming. That's what we do. We have a lot of SMU helmets around the football, and it fixes a lot of problems. And that's why we've been really good on defense the last few years. On offense, the physicality, the tempo we want to play with, on special teams, et cetera. And so that's really where our focus is. And then, who can play? Competition's a big part of what we've always wanted to do here. It's different now more than ever because there's roster limits. We're not full like the NFL yet, but there's not official cuts. But, we can only have so many on the roster when we get to fall camp. And So how that stuff formulates, it gives guys opportunities to compete and show what they can do. I'll finish with this. I think a lot of excitement going on, a lot of progress at our program. We've talked about Jay Hartzell coming in. You asked about Damon, the trajectory of football and all the other sports. There's probably the most important thing for the offseason that we can do tangibly from an SMU fan base. And I'm talking about the SMU family, the over 35,000 that came to every game this year, the over 120+ thousand something living alumni, is rally around our program, our athletic program, in a way that helps us sustain this and continue the climb. And the best thing we can do is go to the Boulevard Collective online, and we need as many people as we can to join where it says Run with the Mustangs, and that's a minimum of $100 a month commitment. And you start thinking about everybody who loves SMU and buys season tickets and watches our games and comes to games. That support is huge for us to continue the ascension we're on and to try to get on top all the way and even stay there. We got to have everybody's help. And so, I've got a personal goal. I want to have 15,000 members. I want 15,000 SMU people to go to the Boulevard Collective website and at bare minimum sign up for Run with the Mustangs. And we'll come out later with things that we'll provide for that. But if nothing else, that's a way you can tangibly and directly affect our team for the fall. Not just football, all sports. And but that's a huge need. It happens at every other university. So it's a call to really all of our Mustang fan base and family to rally around that. For a minimum of $100 a month commitment, you can greatly affect how we carry into these next several years. Thanks.